Hello, how do you do, everyone, and welcome to the NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, the 30th of May 2022. It's Gary here again, and what does Monday, the 30th of May 2022 mean? That means it is the week of NARSA 2022 in Las Vegas, Nevada, where does the time go, folks? Absolutely incredible how fast it has passed for us. It literally seems like just a week or so ago that I was saying it's just over 16 weeks to go and single figures. It'll be single figures before we know it. And what do you know? It's in a few days now. So we'll get to that and a bit more of that in a wee bit here. But before we get to the fun stuff, firstly, and more importantly, it was announced today on a very sombre note that the goalie himself, Andy Goram, has confirmed that his cancer that had been reported publicly a wee while back is now terminal, unfortunately, with a life expectancy of around 6 months. Oh my God, when is a season of loss going to end for legendary figures for our great club? This is just incredibly sad. Andy was diagnosed with level 4 esophagus cancer, I'm guessing it's something like that. Forgive me for not pronouncing it correctly, which has subsequently spread to his liver, his right lung, and 3 vertebrae, and his ribs as well. It seems to be very, very aggressive for the poor fella. It was reported also that he has declined chemotherapy after seeing the impact it had on his ex-wife, Miriam, during her own cancer battle last year. So, I don't know, words just cannot describe the pending loss to the Rangers family due to Andy's condition, and I can only wish him and his family every comfort and send him every single prayer that we have from everyone at NARSA. Just such an awful way to start this week's pod. On to the games segment here. With no games, of course, to refer to for last week or this week, we'll go straight into our RTV updates. And as I mentioned, for the past few weeks, our attentions are turned to ensuring every single club pays their remaining dues for the services that they enjoyed this past season, so that we can then pass that payment on to Rangers TV. This is an absolute must, folks, to have this done and dusted in the next couple of weeks. So if your club still has some outstanding fees, please do get to them and get them into Alec Grant, of course, our treasurer, and we can then move on from there. We have a meeting with David Melvin from Rangers TV tomorrow morning, my time, and we'll be discussing the season that was, our current payment plan, and our plans for next season, and how and where the individual member vouchers may or may not fit in. I do know that producing and maintaining the vouchers is quite a manual and laborious process for the guys at RTV, so I will be interested to see what the take on this in terms of continuing to provide these to our clubs. We did have some cursory conversations quite some time ago about maybe just saying each club gets X amount and then nothing else will be issued after that. I think just to try and give them a wee bit of a respite on the admin side. It's kind of difficult, I have to say. I think I mentioned this last week, to go to the negotiating table and insist that we do need them again, and we do want to enjoy the flexibility that we do enjoy with having these individual vouchers when we do have some delinquent clubs that haven't paid, and that subsequently doesn't allow us to pay our partners for last season. But David is a reasonable and pragmatic guy, and I'm sure this initial conversation will be cordial and we'll have a better sense of where he stands after that. So a wee bit more information on that next week if I can remember after this week. For shout outs, I think the main and only shout out for this week is to all travelling bears from across the globe descending on Las Vegas for the biggest Rangers show in town this week. From when we put the tickets on sale back in March 2021, quite honestly, not having a clue, really, truly at the time, whether there would even be a convention with the state the world was in, still reeling in the pandemic madness at that particular time. The Bears have stuck with it and they've kept believing that it would be a reality. And quite honestly, I don't know if I mentioned this on a previous pod or not, but it was back in December 2021 that we sat down as an organising committee and had one of those kind of crossroads type conversations to say, right, do we go ahead with this or not? And it's kind of strange to think that that conversation was only 6 months ago, and the world, even at the time, looked like a very different place, even when compared to today. When we decided, let's do it, we then started our genuine, proper planning in earnest. So we've essentially crammed 24 months of planning into 6. So we engaged our VIPs and of course we engaged the Rangers Football Club and got down to the nuts and bolts of making this event as successful as it possibly can be. I can't thank everyone enough who has taken the time to head over to be with us, and I'll say a wee bit more about that probably in closing today, but for sticking with us and for generating the excitement that we've seen online for the event since day one, since the tickets went on sale. It's going to be a great time for everyone, and my only and main ask of each and every single guest is that if something goes wrong, if something isn't as perfect or exactly the way that you thought it was going to be, please just take a breath. Look at where you are. Look at who you're with. Look at and remember the reasons why you're there. We're all lucky and blessed to be able to celebrate our great football club in such a dynamic and fun place. Will there be the odd hiccup? I expect so. There typically always is. Will we do our absolute best to fix or remedy anything for you? Absolutely, 100% we will, each and every time. Will you make new friends and have life experiences like you've never had before? Absolutely guaranteed you will. I remember, actually, excuse me, I remember my first Las Vegas convention. That was back in 2010, so that's 12 years ago. And at the time, I wasn't involved in supporting the organising or anything like that, a regular punter, and it was one of the best weekends of my life. I still think back on it, and it was just so much fun. The great thing about Vegas is that there's always something to do. So if you're waiting a wee bit longer for something, or you're queued up for something, that's okay. You can grab a quick beverage, people watch for a wee while, and just take it easy, and it will be an absolute blast. Yes, I'm asking for a wee bit of patience because you just never know quite what is around the corner. So, convention update, on to our last Las Vegas 2022 convention update before the party begins. And I'll do this one last time. I can officially confirm it is 3 days until the first official event of the 2022 convention. Oh, dearie me. And to put that in a week's context, it's not even a week for us to get everything sorted and finalised for the event. Wow, literally this week. Wowee. And we get the honour of celebrating our club's glorious 150th anniversary, Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee anniversary, the 50th anniversary of Barcelona 72, and of course NARSA's 30th anniversary as well. This past weekend, we sent out an important communication to everyone that had purchased tickets, and then we also used our MailChimp distribution list as well to make sure that we got as much reach as we possibly could. And this communication provided all of the event logistics and other ancillary stuff there. And I'm going to run through these kind of quickly for you, just as a wee bit of a kind of reinforcement reminder for everyone. And it was sent over, I think it was, 4 or 5 pages? Excuse me, I'm still getting over COVID from last week. My word. So Wednesday, the 1st of June, 2 days from today, the Las Vegas Loyal are having their welcome event at the Crown and Anchor British pub from 11 a.m. till late, and they are actually going to be showing the Scotland game there as well. So if you want to get yourself down there and get yourself set up and seated for the game, if that's your jam, then go ahead with that. On Thursday, the 2nd of June, that's our first official NARSA, what is going down? NARSA event, and that's the NARSA Welcome Night. And that's in Planet Hollywood in the Celebrity Ballroom, and it's on the 2nd floor. So the casino floor is the main floor. There's a set of escalators, and you go up the escalators, and there's a Chris Angel Theatre and stuff like that. You'll probably see that on the map that was enclosed there as well. But all the events, all the official events that we're having are on the 2nd floor. So go up to the top of the escalator, take a right, and then you'll see some of the activity there in terms of getting yourself signed in and organised for the event. And on that night, that's going to start at 7 o'clock, and really we'll get going with the stuff around about 8, the back of 8, something like that. And we're going to have some VIP Q&As. We're going to have music from DJ Joe Cully, and just kind of basically get to know each other again after 3 years away. On Friday morning, we have the David Cooper Memorial Golf Tournament, and that's at the Revere Golf Club in Hampton Road in Henderson, Nevada. And the pickup there is 7 a.m. pickup from Planet Hollywood, and we'll be back. All the golfers will be back around 2:30ish or thereabouts, and the details were there. 7 a.m. pickup. It's a shotgun start. There's going to be lunch and bits and pieces like that, and as I say, we'll be back there about the back of 2. I often said that I was going to golf until my dad no longer came to the conventions, and for anyone listening last week will know that my dad is unfortunately passed. So I am going to golf this Friday in his memory and have a great time and toast him as much as I possibly can on the way round the course as well. And then at the same time, for folks that don't golf and want to do something a wee bit different, there is the Best Day Ever tour hosted by the Las Vegas Loyal. And that's going to be over at the Hoover Dam and then also in El Dorado as well. That the buses leave at 8 o'clock. And Friday night is the big one. It's the NARSA Tam Plunkett Blue Night. That's a ticketed event, and that's in the Celebrity Ballroom as well at Planet Hollywood. That's from 7 p.m. till 1 a.m. We'll probably start the entertainment a wee bit earlier. You know, the DJ will be on and doing his thing at 7 o'clock, but the actual, we'll do some Q&As if we have time. We'll have DJ Joe Kelly again, of course. We have Callum Beattie, the musician, doing a couple of sets, and I just spoke to Callum's manager, Dave, today, just to kind of set the scene for what those sets are going to be, and you are going to be in for a big treat. And we also have the Pride of NARSA, the Govan Protestant Boy, is going to do a bunch of sets towards the later part of the evening and into the wee small hours, I imagine. So that takes care of Friday. Saturday morning is the Absent Friends football tournament, which is going to take place at the Kellogg Zaher Sports Complex, which is in West Washington Avenue in Las Vegas. And the buses are going to depart around about 7:30 a.m. Actually, I'm looking at a wee typo on my list here. It says 8 till 11, but I think 8 is the actual start of the tournament. But the buses will leave Planet Hollywood at 7:30 a.m. and we'll be back. Oh, that was Leo sneezing in the background. So we'll be back at about 11:15 or something like that, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see everybody there and have a great time over at the football tournament. I am assured that the strips arrived kinda safe and sound from back home. The strips look absolutely stunning, I have to say. Alan and Brian did an amazing job again on that. There was a wee bit of a hiccup with the strips last night, which I'll maybe leave Brian to tell you about at some point, but we are in possession of them. They are safe and sound, and that's the main thing. Let's just move on from there. And the reason we have that so early is because of the heat. It's very, very warm at this time of year in Las Vegas, and also we need to get everybody back for the NARSA annual general meeting. And the general meeting is also in the Celebrity Ballroom, and that's going to be starting at noon sharp on Saturday afternoon, and it'll go till roughly about 1 o'clock, 1:15, something like that, depending on how many questions we get. And straight after that, there's going to be a VIP Q&A and a little bit more of an intimate setting as well. So that'll probably go for about 45 minutes or so. That'll start about 1:30 p.m. on Saturday, and that will also be in the same place as the general meeting. And people are welcome to attend the general meeting who are not NARSA members. You just don't get to obviously vote or anything like that, you know. And then on Saturday night, it's the NARSA Walter Smith Memorial Grand Banquet, which is the final of the NARSA official ticketed events that we have. That is also in the Planet Hollywood Celebrity Ballroom, and it's going to be cocktails from about 6 to 7, and the meal, everyone will be sat down for about 7. We'll come in about just after 7 or so, and then just get on with the meal. There'll be a couple of speeches. Jimmy Denning's band is going to entertain us during the night. Callum Beattie might do a wee skit or two in there as well, and we'll also be hosted that night with David Edgar. There'll be a couple of speeches, not too many at all. We'll keep it to a minimum just to get the festivities going as quickly as we possibly can. And on the itinerary that I sent, there was a dress code for each, and it's essentially casual wherever you're going. And casual in Vegas is a very wide-ranging statement, but shorts, t-shirt, whatever you want to wear, Rangers stuff, up to you. On Saturday night, it's formal dinner attire, ideally a suit for the gents and kind of cocktail dress or something for the women. But as long as you're kind of smart, that'll be the main thing. Nobody gets thrown out for not being, smart, but you don't want to look like the only person in the room that shows up with their flip-flops and shorts and t-shirt and everyone else has made an effort. So, or maybe you don't care, that's okay as well. And then on Sunday, the last part of that is the leaving do, which is at the Space, not too far away from the Planet Hollywood, and that's going to start about noon and it's going to go until about late-ish. I actually did get a couple of questions on that once I had sent this out on the weekend there, and it was asking whether that was a ticketed event. I know that I've talked about this a number of times, and yes, of course it's a ticketed event. I think it's, what is it, $30 or $40? I think, I can't even remember now, the price. But for that, you're going to get 2 free drinks, you're going to get drink specials, there's food trucks outside, there's going to be entertainment. The Goram Purdie boys are going to make an appearance that day as well, and you're going to be very well entertained. And actually what we're also going to do is we're going to do a live Heart and Hand show there as well. David's going to host myself, Martin Ramsey and Craig Moore at some point in the afternoon there as well, just to kind of break it up a wee bit for you as well. So if you happen to see or be speaking to Craig Moore, don't tell him I said that, because I don't think he knows yet that that's going to happen. I believe that David Edgar is going to talk to him about it when they're watching the Scotland game on Wednesday. So let's just keep that between you and I for now. Yeah, as I said, there was a map there giving you an idea of where the registration area is. That's going to be on the mezzanine, just outside the Celebrity Ballroom. You'll then go down the hallway, then you'll turn right, and then you'll see the entranceways into the Celebrity Ballroom itself. Other information that I sent out as well was banner hanging. There's 2 times for pickup of the banner hanging, and that's in Thursday between 10 and 12 Vegas time, and Friday between 10 and 12 Vegas time as well. And if you are outside those times, it's not going to be a guarantee at all that you're going to get your banner hung. So please make sure you get them there between those times, and they'll do their best. Obviously, if you don't drop it off till Friday, it's not going to be put up until Friday night. And then pickup of all the flags and banners that are dropped off will be roughly from about noon to 2. Now, I know that noon to 2 kind of clashes with the leaving do as well. If you're going to be at the leaving do, you just need to have someone in your party to go down and pick them up. They're going to be dismantling all the flags and banners in the morning. Sometimes they do that immediately after the night is finished. They come in overnight, but they've decided they're going to do it in the morning. So you could try and go down a bit earlier, but I don't know if you'll be lucky enough. Now, the key important thing for all the flags and banners, they must come with the grommets attached, and the grommets are basically the wee kind of metallised circles that you get them hung with. If they are not fitted with grommets, that they won't have a facility or an ability to be able to hang them just the way that the hall is structured and set up. So to avoid any disappointment, if it does not have grommets, don't bring it. Or just carry it around with you, or drape it over your table or something like that, but it won't be able to be hung. And there are no charges for banner hanging this year. That's not the same as every single other year. Sometimes the hotel charges us, but we managed to negotiate this as part of the contract back when we did that in 2020, so we're in good shape there. Club tables for merchandise sales. If your club, it doesn't need to be a NARSA club, are coming over and you've got some merchandise to sell, then you can get a table for that, and typically we do that on the Friday night, the busiest night of the 3, and we also do that before the AGM on the Saturday as well. And Orange County Soccer Club are going to be there during the day, I believe Thursday and Friday, to do some sales. So if you happen to be wandering around, you want to go see some of their stuff as well, go ahead and you'll see the folks there, and they'll treat you well. But if you want to sell any gear, you might have to share a table with someone, but it's always good banter and good fun, and it's good to see what other clubs do in terms of merchandise and bits and bobs and that sort of thing. So that's Friday night, Saturday morning. For parking, I think I actually said last week or a couple of weeks ago that parking was maybe $20. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Or maybe I was speaking to someone, I can't remember, there's so much going on. But we've actually negotiated into the contract that it's $10 per day for self-parking. No, that's not true. It's $10 per day for valet parking, where you get to feel all nice and superstarish and they'll take your car away and park it for you. Or $5 a day for self-parking. $5 for self-parking, $10 for valet parking. That's per day. As well. And then one of the most important things that we've been talking about for the last wee while is what we're going to do in terms of seating arrangements for the Walter Smith Memorial Grand Banquet. This being an 1,800 person dinner that we're sitting down. We've never had to do this before, to seat everybody. The amount of requests that I've personally had and others on the executive committee have had as well to say, I booked 2 tickets, my mate booked 3 tickets, and these other folks are coming from this other place and they booked 2 tickets and then another 1 ticket. Can you make sure we're sat together? We would do our best to do that, and we try to rack our brains literally to try and find ways to do that, and it's literally impossible to keep up with everything. So I'm just going to read out what we said on the document here. With such a volume of guests this year, it has proven very challenging to come up with a perfect seating system that will accommodate all requests made. As a result, your NARSA executive has agreed that NARSA clubs will have preferred seating, which were highlighted on the wee map thing of the banquet room for the Saturday night in the blue box on the diagram, and followed by parties who purchased 10 or more tickets in a single transaction. Now that's changed a wee bit, because I spoke to the guy today who's helping me do some of the spreadsheet allocations, and he said he's actually grouped groups of 5 together. So if you were a group of 5 and or more, of course, then there'll be assigned seating for your tables as well, and then we'll go from there. And your table will be marked when you get in to the Celebrity Ballroom on the Saturday. We might be able to do a map outside if we can get our ducks in a row, as they say here, quicker, but I'm not 100% sure whether that's the case. All other guests are going to have the freedom and flexibility to seat yourselves wherever you want in the hall. Now, there's really not a bad place to sit in the hall. You know, it's obviously you want to be as close as you can be to see what's happening and stuff like that, but the AV system's going to be great. You're going to hear everything that's going on. And once the dinner's done and we get the band started, you'll want to be close to the bar and the toilet and the dance floor anyway, and everywhere's pretty accessible from there as well. So essentially, first come, first served, folks, and that's not to say that there's going to be you need to have a mad rush to get in there or anything like that. And if it happens to be that you need to ask someone to move one spot just to help you and your party get, just be nice about it, have a bit of banter, you know, maybe bribe them with some alcohol or whatever you have to do. But let's make sure there's no arguments caused or anything. Everyone's there for the exact same reason. It's the best that we can do. We don't plan to do this as we go forward, because the events typically won't be as large as this going forward, but just in the interests of being as fair as we possibly can be, if you can just have people go in, select their seats, you know, mark their tables, you know, put the chairs over or something to say that these are reserved, and then just respect that, then that would be great. And we want to have everybody as close as we can to the front, so we don't want to spread it all the way over to the back or anything like that either. So we'll see how that shakes out over the piece. So that's essentially what we brought out. As I say, I just wanted to do that as a wee bit of a reinforcement reminder. If you got that email, please check it out. Please print it out if you want and take it. And that's got all of the information you'll need in terms of the actual events themselves. So, yeah, I think that's probably most of the stuff. Oh, I did follow up with the Charity Foundation, actually. I made that sound as if I was proactive. The Charity Foundation, it was the other way around. The Charity Foundation followed up with me to see what the plans were for Vegas. And unfortunately, they can't physically make it in person. They can't, the logistics didn't work out for them to be able to make it over. But they will have a presence in terms of us auctioning off the bedazzled 55 signed shirt for the foundation. And we'll do that, most likely do that on a Saturday night. And if there's anything else that we can support them with, we've already communicated to them that we will most certainly do that. We were hoping for a wee bit more presence and maybe just to kind of mix up the fundraising a wee bit, but we can't do that now that they're not coming. So we'll just proceed as we normally do. One other kind of semi-informal event that's planned is a Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebration that's going to be going on Friday afternoon in the Flamingo, in the middle bar in the Flamingo from about 1 p.m. on Friday. Now, this one is being organised by NARSA stalwarts Ian and Avril Nicol, and I'm sure it's going to be an absolute blast. I'm kind of disappointed to miss it because I'm going to be at the golf. And saying that, I get back, maybe if I get back at 2:30, maybe I can head over, I'm not sure. Erin, my love, is flying in around about that time as well, so I don't want to be too messy by the time she arrives. So, but I'm sure it's going to be a blast. And Ian told me to tell people, if you don't know where you're going, follow the noise. And that's a quote. So if you're at a loose end on Friday afternoon, you want to hang out with some bears, hang over, check that out, as I'm sure it's going to be an absolutely brilliant time. I have no doubt. Actually, it's going to be a brilliant time. So, ever since we won the Scottish Cup, we've been asked if we're getting the cup brought over for for NARSA guests to enjoy looking at it and enjoy getting some photo opportunities with it. And my answer from then, which was of course only just last weekend, was we'll do what we can to make it happen, but I don't see it being a problem. Now, the qualification for me saying that I genuinely don't see it as being a problem was that during my attendance at NARSA events, leading back to my first one, which was in Calgary in 2008, if there were trophies that Rangers won that season, they were at the NARSA convention. That was no exceptions every single time. So it was essentially a tradition that predated even my time and spanned back, probably the best part of the entire 3 decades that we've now been in existence. So I bet you can't even begin to come up with a guess as to what I'm going to say next. Well, if you're a MyJers member, you might already know that the club, in their infinite wisdom, organised an exclusive MyJers session with not only the Scottish Cup, but also the replica Barcelona 72 Cup that I also assumed, well, I didn't assume, I was told that it wouldn't be a problem by the club, that it was going to be there at NARSA. Anyway, so that trophy, the Barcelona 72 replica, was going to make its way over to us, and then Colin, Willie and Peter could proudly bring it in and we'd have some amazing photo opportunities. So this was all organised as I thought, and let's just say thought is very much in inverted commas now. I thought I was negotiating in good faith with the club that the trophies would come over, and then the MyJers announcement literally landed in my inbox at the same time. And here's the kicker. If you're a MyJers member and you're attending Las Vegas 2022, not only do you lose out once, but you lose out twice on getting to see the trophies up close now. I tell you what, folks, I say this with a very, very heavy heart, the club just cannot get out of their own way right now. This is our 150th anniversary year, and plans were afoot 3 years ago, initiated by the club, to have conversations about a fan extravaganza involving supporters from all over the world, only for all of that to culminate in a massive custard pie to the face of NARSA when we really, really counted on the club's support. For regular listeners, you'll know that I more than support the club on this podcast each and every week. I love the club, and I always will love the club. I admire and respect the people I work with from the club, but I don't mind admitting at all that I am becoming really, really disheartened and really, really disillusioned with what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing right now. There appears to just be broken and fractured communications throughout the organisation, and that can happen with any large, complex company, in my experience. But when it comes to pass, that decades of tradition are just completely thrown out the window, intentionally or otherwise. It doesn't matter, the end result is the exact same for us, through some sort of misalignment or misinformation, and that misalignment and misinformation materially affects our guest experience at a NARSA convention, then that's when my faith and trust are starting to become severely compromised. Quite frankly, the club had the entire summer to organise this MyJers trophy display, yet they decided to do it the day before the NARSA convention. They decided that was the best time to do it. Now, did they all know about the NARSA convention? I'm honestly being told different variations of anything between yes and no, but I know for sure it wasn't communicated internally like it typically has been during my past 10 years with NARSA. We follow the exact same communications protocol that's been fashioned over the years, over a number of years, and this year it didn't work. So all that to say, once NARSA 2022 is complete and everything's fully wrapped up, and I've gotten over my trip home and my dad's funeral, I'm gonna have to have a long, hard think about next steps in terms of the relationship with the club, because it's feeling pretty one-sided these days, folks, and I'll give it some serious thought in my role in that, what I could have done better, what NARSA could possibly have done better, and what the club could have done better. And when my head is a wee bit clearer, I'll work through what I think is best for NARSA and for Rangers. So more to follow as the summer goes on that, but right now isn't the time to do it, because I could literally not be more disappointed in the club than I am right now, and it breaks my heart to say that, to be very honest. I mentioned last week that we did receive correspondence from Craig Purdie from Dubai, who let me know that he couldn't make it along and he was going to donate his ticket. I said we would do a competition for that, and someone actually asked about that on our social media channels today, so we will do that tomorrow, and I believe there might be another one as well. There was a fellow who contacted me saying he was maybe going to donate his ticket. I'm not 100% sure. I asked him again just to say, are you sure? And he hasn't got back to me. So there may be two by tomorrow, but we'll just do one. I think we'll just collect names or do a competition, and then we'll just do a random draw generator and get it to the successful person. And we'll also be sending out a note to everyone. We'll do that tomorrow on Tuesday on our distribution list to see who has purchased tickets for the event, especially for the 3-night tickets that include the Walter Smith Memorial Grand Banquet, but who's purchased the tickets but definitely not coming and they couldn't get a buyer for their tickets. This is going to help us liaise with the hotel in terms of setting up the tables specifically for the Grand Banquet on Saturday night, and it will also help the hotel manage the kitchen's expectations on how many meals not to prepare, hopefully culminating in a better overall customer experience for the folks that are going to be there at the event on Saturday. As I've corresponded literally hundreds of times with guests this past while, we aren't in a position to process any refunds for our event. We're not set up to do that, and that would most likely be a going out of business plan, to be perfectly honest with you. So this question that we'll pose is not to promise or suggest or suppose that there's going to be any sort of refund. It's just to help us have a more streamlined experience during the event on Saturday. So if you get that email and you know for a fact you're not coming, you know for a fact your tickets are not sold, then please just let us know. It's just a number. All you need to do is say 6, 10, 9, 4, 2, 1, whatever the number is, then we'll just collate that, give the hotel a rough idea. It was supposed to be 1,872 people at the Grand Banquet, and we're just a wee bit shy of that through keeping back some tickets for sponsors and various other parties, and so if it ends up being that we're 100 short or something like that, the hotel would really appreciate to know about that as well. So more to follow on that. Something will arrive in your inboxes tomorrow for that one, guaranteed. One last plug for the frequently asked questions document on our NARSA convention page. Take a peek there. If anything I haven't mentioned tonight, there will be other information there, I'm sure. From a rapid fire communication segment this week, just two major things really for this week. The first one, I'd like to congratulate little Tom Stoltman on winning the World's Strongest Man for the second year ago, just yesterday. What a character this young man is, and he is really ripping it up on the World's Strongest Man scene. Well done to him. There was an article posted today on the Rangers website that said, congratulations are again in order for die-hard Rangers supporter Tom Stoltman, who last night was named as the world's strongest man for the second year in a row. The 28-year-old Highlander is a well-kent face at Rangers matches, both home and away, and is never slow in showing his support for the club. After competing in a variety of events over 6 days of gruelling competition in Sacramento, USA, he became only the 10th competitor to take the title twice, and is the first athlete since 2016 to win back-to-back prizes. He's also the first Scot in history to be named as the world's strongest man. Everyone at Rangers sends Tom their warmest regards and looks forward to welcoming him home to Ibrox. We actually reached out to Tom once we had heard about that. We reached out to him quite a wee while ago because we knew he was going to be in California for the event, and once we knew he won, we reached out to him to see if it was possible that he was sticking around for a few days, and if he was, would he be interested and available to come to NARSA. Unfortunately, I think he might be home now. He was flying back to the UK to be involved in a benefit football match back home as well. So too bad for us, and good for Tom, and congratulations again. And you might remember last week that I mentioned the Football Supporters in Europe survey into the fan experience at the Europa League final in Seville a couple of weeks back. There has been some progress on that, and discussed in an article on the Rangers website today. And it said, last Friday, representatives of Eintracht Frankfurt, Rangers FC and Football Supporters Europe met to debrief and discuss several significant organisational issues during the recent UEFA Europa League final in Sevilla. These issues could easily have led to even more severe problems on the night, and it was only thanks to the calmness and mutual respect of both sets of fans towards each other that there were not more severe injuries suffered. All three parties applaud and the remarkable calmness of the two fan bases given the situation they faced. Apart from the severe lack of food and, even more critically, in the soaring temperatures of water, there were several organisational problems around policing, body searches and beyond. Both clubs, as well as FSE, received a huge amount of complaints and witness statements from fans present in the stadium. All three parties will now work jointly to report back to UEFA and the local public authorities in Spain, and will make recommendations to ensure these problems can never occur again at a European final. Fans spend a lot of effort, time and money following their teams all over Europe and expect to be treated with respect and dignity while attending football games. This expectation was not met at all at the Europa League final in Sevilla. So, and it wasn't just us that experienced some hardships in relation to a European final. Did you see some of the bonkers scenes prior to this past Saturday's Champions League final between Real Madrid and Liverpool? It was just incredible. And now we have everybody coming out and blaming everyone else for what happened. UEFA just basically blames the supporters all the time. That seems to be the default. I didn't hear any such hassle at the Eurovision conference final the last week or the week before, but for two of the three major European finals to be blighted by such a lack of basic logistics and on-site management is kind of stupid, really, isn't it, in this day and age? And it will be very, very interesting to see how all of this shakes out over time. But it does look like UEFA need to get a better grip on their locations for hosting and what type and style of on-site management is required to satisfy, fan safety and entertainment pleasure as well. Now, I'm going to caveat that with, I'm not going to judge UEFA too harshly at this stage, because I'm just heading down in 48 hours for a 2,300 person event that I've been involved in organising, and know firsthand the amount of stuff that has to happen in the background that no one ever sees. And if one of those things goes wrong, it can manifest itself into something that people do see. So I'm going to reserve a wee bit of judgment. I'm not going to be in a glass house and throw some stones at UEFA for right now, but maybe if this event goes off without a hitch this week, then I'll maybe get on my high horse a wee bit about UEFA for next week, maybe. I don't know. That will do it for this week, my friends. A wee bit longer one this week, just to get all those logistics in your ears if you didn't get a chance to read them from your inbox. This is it. Now, our first convention in 3 years on the back of a global pandemic, working within a world with huge supply chain issues right now, heading to a city that's just absolutely nuts from sunrise to sunset and then some. What can possibly go wrong? Actually, let me flip that question and think about what can possibly go right, and that's kind of everything. I fly down Wednesday morning and I'm so looking forward to seeing everyone when I get there. I'm sure it's going to be a wee bit like Seville, where I'll be in the same city as a whole bunch of friends and I'm not going to get to see them or talk to them, but if you do see me, please don't hesitate to come over and say a quick hello. Even if I look busy, I'll gladly give anybody the time. I'd love to just thank everybody for coming along, and I hope to do a wee bit of table hopping at each of the nights and just sit down and just basically shoot the shit with the bears that have taken the time to come over, and I'm definitely committing to doing that this year. As I mentioned earlier, I've corresponded with literally hundreds of bears since we put these tickets on sale in March 2021, and I hope in some way I've managed to help most of them out. I've certainly managed to reply to almost everyone. If I didn't reply to you, that would be an absolute error on my behalf. I pride myself on finally getting back to everyone, but hopefully you enjoy the event to its fullest and be as safe as you possibly can be. To be honest, that's a wee bit more of a reminder for myself than anyone else. I'll see who I see down there, and for those of you who are not there, you will get some great content on both ours and Heart and Hands social media channels. And let's just see how the week goes. I'll be back next Monday in whatever shape that I'll be back in to provide a bit of a post-convention update. So until then, my friends, all the very best. Thank you so much again for taking the time to listen. Please do share this podcast with whoever you think might enjoy it. And until next week, take care of yourself, enjoy the party, and we'll chat then. Cheerio.